The anniversary for 5 years since the promulgation of the Constitution in this country. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you think we've done well in terms of having it implemented?
Yeah, Mike, 5 years, with all the challenges we faced, we have one of the most progressive constitutions. It's one of the most bulky constitutions.
A very ambitious one as well.
Very, very ambitious. I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll put us at 6, and a qualified 6. There are certain areas where we have started off well. There are certain areas where we've been forced to do certain things. Devolution is there, and it is making a difference in the lives of people. We could have done better on devolution, but there are issues of governance, there are issues of structures that are still affecting us. One area that we must examine ourselves on is issues of integrity. I think that's chapter 6 of the Constitution. That is the one thing that we have thrown out of the window. And once you throw that out of the window, you lose the essence of this Constitution. That is one area which tempts me even to rate us at 4 out of 10. But it's still a 6 out of 10. Another area that we have not, where the experiment has not succeeded very well, should be chapter 8, where we are talking about the legislature, and particularly the relationship between the Senate and the National Assembly. That really has been an experiment that needs to be looked at again, because we have a situation where we have 2 houses of parliament that are not working in harmony. I'll give you an example of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Bill that has been introduced in the National Assembly by Adan Kenyan. For your information, a similar bill is in the Senate, introduced by the leader of government, the leader of majority, Professor Kithure Kindiki. And these are bills that, this is not a Senate powers and privileges bill. It is a parliamentary powers and privileges bill. You find 2 houses of parliament coming with bills with the same essence. Of course, the one that came through the National Assembly had got provisions on gagging the media and infringing on the rights of the media. So those are some of the problems we are having with the manner in which we structured the legislature within the Constitution. I feel that this Constitution, after 5 years, is ripe for amendment. And we in CORD, we have come up with certain areas where we believe we should amend the Constitution so that we make it much more consistent, we make it much more aspirational, and we make it much more realistic. But integrity, chapter 6 of the Constitution, the day we mutilated that chapter, that is the day we started going
But when
wrong.
you say we mutilated, you do realize that this is actually something that we as Kenyans must participate in, not just the government or those in authority, but even just the civilian Kenyan must participate, especially in matters of integrity.
Oh yeah, and the blame really, in this matter, it is not just even to the executive. In fact, the current executive is a beneficiary of the mutilation of chapter 6, because we set very high standards for public officers. Somebody went to court before the last elections, and the courts ruled that it does not matter whether you have been accused of rape and displacement and murder. It is the people who are going to decide whether you are going to be their leader. But look at chapter 6. It is very, very clear that there are certain values and principles that people who aspire to offices, state offices, must exhibit. The vote of the people, because we are now putting supremacy in the hands of the people. But Jesus Christ, when he was crucified, he was called all sorts of names by the same people that he was serving. We must be careful about this thing of tyranny and saying that the vote can baptize. If Weda was accused of rape, murder and displacement, unfortunately is not, that once he's voted, he ceases to be a rapist, a murderer, and a displacer of persons. So that's why I'm saying the current executive is a beneficiary of the watering down of chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Okay, Empress Weda, on a scale of 1 to 10, where we are on the Constitution, I'm sure you have a few things you want to respond to.
I think we have done very well. Let me first of all respond. Somebody is presumed innocent until proved guilty by the court. Otherwise, people who are expelled for indiscipline from university like him would not have been senators. You allow somebody due process. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I think the Constitution has done very well. We have done very well. It has transformed this country 100% in terms of culture, in terms of the way we run government, in terms of... So that what the hiccups we are experiencing are based on nostalgia the old power, the old order. People who are looking back with nostalgia and saying, I wish I was this kind of president or this kind of prime minister or this kind of minister. So going forward, if the Constitution was given time to mature, it will transform this country for the better. The major hiccups we have, number one, is money. Is a Constitution that requires a lot of money to implement. And that requires that we grow the economy, expand the cake, and then the next that we have had is we have had a bloated parliament. We have had a Senate that has practically nothing much to do than bickering and talking kidogo. Either we trim it or give it more powers or abolish it altogether. Then we have also had questions of, if you look at the ministers, they don't seem to have thrust because of lack of clout. Now this has been a negative impact, but overall I would give it about 70%. If we add in, if we inject in more money, and I think we are, as it is given time to grow, it will grow bigger. Otherwise, the amendments are for people who are nostalgic, people who want to look back, people who realize, oh, at this rate we are not going to get power. So they want to amend here, amend there, and I thank those who made the Constitution, including myself, that in that Constitution we have a requirement for a referendum. Okay. These guys would have amended every morning. They amend. You want power, amend. Referendum is the brick, and thank God for it.
Okay, Senator Hassan Umar.
I think 5 out of 10 would be, in fact, quite generous, and that's how I'll put it. First and foremost is to agree with Weda that the presumption of innocence, which he talked about. So
that's amazing. You agreeing with Weda?
Yes, because I also want to send him to. I don't know what. I still believe he's peripheral, but he can, if he ever bumps into Uhuru Kenyatta, to tell him to stop killing suspects, or to allow the government to the full length of investigations. If you saw yesterday,
Senator, that we cannot justify. We cannot say that
listen,
the president.
Why am I saying that? Let me tell you. There is either a commission, governments either commits an act of omission or commission. And you heard what Martha Karua said yesterday. If the frequency of the disappearances in the extrajudicial killing of suspects in such a manner, that in such a wide scale, so in frequent manner, can only demonstrate one thing: either there's a meltdown of the rule of law, or it's a deliberate action of the state. There can only be two of those analyses. It is not possible. Even some of them have been caught on camera, and KTN ran some of those clips in terms of people being caught on CCTV cameras, and there are no questions, there are no answers, and it's not only one. I know a couple which have been caught on CCTV cameras. That kind of style,
although with that kind of with that arrest, they claimed they were policemen. We have no proof as to whether they were policemen or not. But
if you ever all the time get a CCTV and you're able to zero down on some of the suspects, and the frequency and the audacity upon which it happens is just telling. You know what happens in crimes against humanity, which you heard Manasseh talking about. It is systematic and widespread. So therefore, it has already met that threshold, that it has been systematic. It has been targeted to a certain group of individuals. It has been as widespread, and in a manner that is very alarming. So I think so in terms of that presumption of innocence, we also did not kill anybody who we suspected in The Hague. We did not execute them summarily. We have allowed them the full benefits of a due process. So I think we must allow our people the full benefits of a due process. So when you're talking about the mechanical, why am I saying 5? The mechanical implementation, the nebulous issues, giving some 15%, which you coerce with figures that were audited 3-4 years ago, and saying you did actually 20. Those kinds of mechanical implementation has been okay. But in terms of the software of the Constitution, the values, Chapter 4, I can tell you human rights actors will give a resounding fail in the implementation of the Constitution. And Chapter 4 is about the Kenyan person. Everywhere else in the Constitution makes reference to every other person. It's the only place where it talks about an individual in the Constitution. It's Chapter 4, the Bill of Rights. It's as a charter for Kenya's socio-economic and political development, issues of social justice, ensuring that we make our people better off. in terms of effective programs to deal with poverty, in terms of ensuring there is equity in government, to ensure that there is widespread representation, to decimate the cabal of ethnicity, to deal with corruption in a manner that is decisive and firm. All these things have not taken place, and these are part of the constitutional doctrine that tended to alter fundamentally the nature and character of our politics and government. So what happens is we have this narrative about showcasing development as only, you know, putting up a road and putting up cabros. That's why you see these people saying, chap chap this, chap chap that. You know, because they have no idea what governance is about. Kenya and Africa right now needs a governance leader, a person who will respect the rule of law, who will ensure democratic development, who will not try to roll down back the freedoms of the media, who will not try to roll down back the freedoms of expressions, the things that are value systems and principles of our constitution.
Okay.
But that's said and done in the totality. I think in terms of devolution, that was the actual promise of this constitution. There I blame both governors.
Devolution,
I blame both the governors and the national government. The national government is not pro-devolution. That's why when you hear people talk about the abolition of the Senate all the time, they are people who do not understand devolved structures of government. The architecture of any constitution that has different levels of government presupposes a Senate that is strengthened to give weight to that. If you look at constitutional practice across the world, that is how devolved systems do look like. It must be a Senate that provides for that devolution. Different countries have different structures of that Senate. So then but the governors have totally missed the script on devolution. They have tried to mirror national government by not taking into consideration what Article 174 of the Constitution on the objects of devolution really are: socio-economic development and service delivery.